Hi, this is Jeff Wright with Life and Living Now and Versatile Fighting Arts. And it's been a few weeks since I have produced anything, and that's because we moved from New Orleans to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So now that we're getting things somewhat settled, I thought I would address an issue that I had promised a student of mine that I would cover in a little more detail. And that's what we're looking at. We're talking about the energy in the body, the energy centers, and in traditional Chinese thought, then we deal with lower Dantian. Japanese was Hara, but you have lower Dantian, which is the sea of Qi. It's kind of that cultivating, it's a container for energy. And then you have middle Dantian and upper Dantian. And within the, say, yogic or tantric philosophies, then you have chakras that kind of run up the spine. And there's a lot of similarities, but there are also some differences. And so I tend to employ both. I was introduced to chakras when I started my meditation practice way back 30-something years ago, in my mid-30s. And I did not encounter anything from the traditional Chinese side until I got more into my martial arts study and specifically into Qigong. And Qigong being more of a Chinese thought process, then it was infused with obviously a lot of Chinese thought. So it kind of came up because I tend to talk about both of them because I have an understanding of both. And so I kind of had made some notes. And, we're looking, say, at the root chakra. So in, traditional, say, Indian philosophy, there are 7, and then sometimes there's 8 major chakras. And they start with the root chakra that is at the base of your spine, the seat where Kundalini energy can rise from, and it runs up along your spine. So that you would have the root chakra, the Muladhara chakra, you have the sacral chakra, you'll have solar plexus, you'll have heart, you'll have throat, you'll have third eye, crown chakra, and then some systems have another one above. In traditional Chinese, you have 3 Dantians, an upper, a middle, and a lower Dantian. And the lower Dantian is found a little bit below the navel towards the center of the body. And it's kind of in that abdomen section. And it is the center of mass for the human body. There is in traditional Chinese medicine, Qigong, the Dantians are considered to be containers of energy and able to develop and to extract energy from food, etc., and then place it around the body, whereas the chakras are more energy centers, vortexes, have more of a vertical integration, more evolutionary as opposed to more cyclical and traditional Chinese. So I just thought I'd kind of just talk about that for a little bit. So with an idea of the root chakra, which in Sanskrit is Muladhara, is the first of the 7 primary chakras, as I mentioned, the human energy system. It's located at the very base of the spine, near the perineum, and is considered to be the energetic foundation upon which all the other chakras rest. So the other chakras will not be fully opened or fully utilized until we can build from each one of those. So like the roots of a tree, the Muladhara anchors us to the physical world. It gives us grounding and provides grounding, stability, and this vital force necessary for survival, for vitality, and for confidence. For those that wish to kind of get into this a little bit more, you also may want to look at Maslow and the hierarchy, and then relate that according to chakras. We may do that later. There's a lot of correlation between the two. So when you look at just the root chakra, and I tend to use English terminology because I'm an English speaker. I do not speak the Indian language. I do not speak Chinese, with Cantonese, or my vocabulary is English. So I do borrow words from time to time, depending upon if I think it's more useful. But I think, especially since I primarily teach Westerners, I usually kind of keep it in English. So I use root chakra. The location is right at the coccyx area, between the coccyx perineum. It's given the element of earth. If you want to get into colors like red and then the sound of more the yogic philosophy, Islam, there's things like governed sense of smell, and I will leave that to others that may have a more in-depth knowledge about how all that correlates. I tend to view all of this as to what's the feeling that you get, where's the balance, where does it affect you psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. So the root chakra will govern survival instincts. They'll govern your physical health. The ability to ground. And grounding is, not just are you stable, are you balanced, are you walking on the ground, but there's a grounding so that you're not being flighty in your emotions. It gives an anchoring. So it also gives stability, gives security. When balanced, then the root chakra gives a person a sense of safety, resilience inside themselves, inner strength. That's part of what happens in that root chakra. So when it's imbalanced, when it's in an unhealthy state, then somebody can feel anxious. They may feel somewhat fatigued. They're not energized. They feel disconnected from their body and from their environment. So a couple of things to look at. Health benefits when you are balanced in your root chakra. And that also, for me, the balancing comes with the focus, the attention you put onto those chakras as they kind of open up. And there's always a discussion as much as, yes, they will open up. Yes, they are always flowing. It just with your awareness and your intent, you can make them fuller. You can open them up more. Same thing as when you're developing Qi in your lower Dantian. Qi is always flowing through your body. So just because you're not aware of it doesn't mean that it's not flowing. And then it still can get stagnated, it still can create health issues, etc. But the more aware you are of the energy in your body and how it flows, the more that you can then impact it, influence it, and harness it. So that's the importance and the benefit of being aware, being conscious, feeling inside your body, understanding what's going on. So with a healthy root chakra, a healthy lower dantian, supports not only physical vitality, but also emotional and mental well-being. So its balance is key to having a strong body and a calm, focused mind. So physical benefits will give you improved energy flow. Balanced root chakra ensures that the prana, life force, qi, flows smoothly upward through the body. A lot of times we'll talk about doing this small circulation where we're sending energy up our spine, across our head, down the front, connecting with all the energy channels and coming back around again. This is how I learned my first small circulation. I have also learned somewhere that's reversed, and we bring it up the front and send it down the back. Because I learned it coming up the spine first and down the front. That's the way I tend to still do it today, in part because I had so many years of practice with that. But you can experiment and see what you think. So also now with a strong and healthy root chakra and a strong and healthy lower dantian, better posture, better alignment, because it anchors energy from the life force and anchors energy into the spine, so it promotes structural integrity and promotes proper grounding. It also gives you a strengthened immune system, stability and safety. They reduce chronic stress. So if you have a feeling of inner safety, of inner security, and inner strength, then it reduces that sense of chronic stress, which then also will have the effect of boosting immunity. And gives increased vitality, and then there's certain emotional benefits, mental benefits, reduced anxiety and fear, because grounding energy causes you to feel more in your body. It causes you to feel more mindful, more intent, more present moment. And as such, it settles down that kind of excessive mental chatter, and it strengthens and lessens emotional instability, strengthens your emotional stability. Enhanced confidence is another benefit. As rootedness breeds a sense of inner security, this sense of courage, the sense of willpower, which is your intention. And it is that intention, that heart mind that is pairing with your energy. It's that intention that makes this happen. Now, if you're looking at martial applications for root chakra, since, and I know part of my audience here, you're involved in life and living now, and you may or may not have interest in martial arts, my versatile fighting arts side obviously is sent for, dedicated towards the martial arts. But with martial applications, since whether it's the Chinese, Japanese, Indian, the root chakra is synonymous with rooting, with balance, with internal power. So that's where you're going to put your focus when you want to create more balance, internal power, and rooting and anchoring. So through the years, martial masters have cultivated this energy to generate stability and explosive force. Now, consider grounding and consider center of gravity. The root chakra development strengthens one's connection to the ground. So it prevents, opponents from easily unbalancing or throwing you. My Qigong students notice that right from the beginning, as they begin to feel this energy and they start to relax, their ability to root and their ability was increased, their ability to be moved was decreased. So that's important. So when rooted, your stance becomes unshakable and the movement flows from the earth upwards. So in one sense, you are connecting through the earth, but that earth is also giving you energy back. Now, energy arises from the root through the legs, and this is where we're going to get that internal force, that Faijing. And it gets expressed down through the waist before it even hits the hands. So the energy rises up from the legs, it goes through the root, and it hits the waist, and then it's expressed through the hands. So this connection delivers this immense internal power without using a lot of muscular tension. Very important. Obviously, it becomes of use not just martially, but every day as well. Also, another benefit with this is fearlessness and presence in combat. Being present moment in combat, being there, you're grounded, you're anchored, you're there in the moment. Hugely beneficial. If you're distracted and when you're in a combative situation, you will be taken advantage of. So understand that a balanced root chakra cultivates this calm awareness, helps to cultivate this courage. Fear dissipates when you feel secure in your body and in your surroundings. So allows clear decision making. So remember, this doesn't happen just on its own and, oh, hey, my chakra opened up and now, my thinking's 100%. Notice this, these are the flavors of this energy that aids you. And because remember, you're not just, in your mind, you are mind-body, you're all energy. And this energy vibrates at different frequencies so that with some with lower frequencies we have things that are more solid in the body, but we also know there's a vast amount of space between all the atoms in our body as well. So and then as we move up in frequency and higher frequencies, we have more energetic, and then you have spirit. So understand and just kind of know that it is a key, but it does not take the place of also your personal responsibility to renew your mind, to be skillful in your thinking. Those kinds of things that we already talk about. So the root chakra also supports correct body alignment, and which speaks to this kinetic chain efficiency is what we're after. That helps with the body. And when the body is properly structured in terms of being able to have proper structure, proper frame, posture, things, kind of stacking the way they're optimum in the body, gives you more power. It creates more flexibility, more freedom in movement. I have often had some issues with my shoulders, mainly from doing a lot of weightlifting and then through the martial arts. So I've had a practice called Min Zen, and it goes by different names, teacup, etc., swimming dragon, and bagua. And I've used this and has always kind of kept my shoulders healed. But I noticed I've always had somewhat rounded shoulders from that brooding teenager phase. But I was really working this heavy bag and coming down on this diagonal elbow. And I really trashed the shoulder, tore the shoulder, a lot of problems. And the more that I researched and looked into it, it was because everything was rolled forward from stooped shoulders that created a lot of weakness here. Where if it had just been rolled back and now I'm using my whole body to come in, I would have protected my shoulder more. Now, let's kind of look at one of my things is Qigong applications of the root chakra. So in Qigong, the root chakra corresponds very closely to the Huyen, the meeting of the yin, the point at the perineum in the Dantian energy system. So before the energy can circulate freely, it must be stored and stabilized. So the root chakra provides that energetic plug that prevents energy leakage and grounds the practitioner. In standing meditation, Zhanshuang, energy flows from the crown down through the spine into the root chakra and then connects with the earth's energy. And this forms a complete energetic circle between heaven and earth. So it also awakens the microcosmic orbit that we had talked about briefly, but I had known just as small circulation. It's also called microcosmic orbit. So it's, for some, it's considered an advanced Qigong application. I tend to use it right from the start. That energy is circulated through the governing and the conception channels, and the root chakra is the gate through which the energy passes from the perineum up the spine, and it begins that circulation going through. And then also after high energy practices, through the root chakra helps to prevent dizziness. It kind of gives balance. Once fully open, it allows that energy to flow. So how do you harness and strengthen the root chakra? One is through grounding meditation. So you could sit or stand with your spine straight. Visualize roots extending from the base of your spine deep into the earth. I usually recommend, and I teach, to imagine about 4 feet down into the ground. And now, in more of the yogic and the tantric, they'll have a mantra that when they meditate, they'll go long, and you're feeling the vibrations from your pelvic floor. If you're into that, fantastic. If you're not, perfectly fine. I do use sound meditation. It is not a primary modality for me, but I do use it. But when you are standing and you are feeling, and this is key, you want to feel your whole body, not just your feet standing, not just your ankles standing, but your whole body, and your whole body 4 feet into the ground as if you were standing on pylons, but really your feet are into the ground as well. You want to feel this deeply. Now, you can also do physical exercises, which I like doing, but you can do squats and lunges and stances like horse stance or Zhanshuang will also strengthen your root energy. Barefoot walking will also help ground you. I've been a big fan of being barefoot since, I was a kid. So, but barefoot walking or standing on natural ground helps recharge your earth connections. You can do pelvic floor contractions as well, pulling up as we talk about on the perineum is a great way of also kind of working some of that energy as well. There's breath work you can do, abdominal breathing into that lower Dantian. That is a fantastic way of increasing your awareness of your lower Dantian, of energizing the parasympathetic nervous system and increasing your root chi as well. And that's using a deep diaphragmatic breathing, deep, not so much chest, deeply trying to expand your rib cage. Essentially what you're doing is, because the diaphragm sits like this, and then it's like, think about the old time, the vegetable strainers that kind of would fold up. If you turn it upside down, it'd be like this. As it spread out, then that's how the diaphragm then becomes these bellows for the lungs. So when I say breathe into your belly, it's actually you're taking that diaphragm and pushing it down. If you're breathing into your kidneys, you're just looking at taking the muscles and kind of moving them more towards the back. So you're trying to feel your way into that diaphragm muscle. The diaphragm muscle, as I understand it, has zero to very few nerve receptors, nerve endings, so it's not a muscle that you can feel, and so you don't feel when it's fatigued, you don't feel when it's tight, as you would, say, with biceps or chest or other muscles that you work. Visualizing your red sphere of light at the base of your spine, pulsing with energy is a good one. I'll go on a limb and say it doesn't always have to be, a red. I don't always visualize well in colors, but I always visualize that sense of pulsing energy at the base of my spine. But you want to feel it expanding within your body, and that feeling is so important. And part of that feeling is what makes it become, in your awareness, a stronger reality. Normal things, lifestyle, nutrition, practice mindfulness every day in movement, establish regular routines, connect with nature, eat grounding foods, root vegetables, whole grains, beans, proteins, things like that. So you kind of look at it and say, okay, well, the root chakras itself is the foundation of human energy and power. It is the gateway, it's the first one, it's the gateway through which the spiritual and the physical vitality will, I don't use the phrase enter the body, because it almost makes it sound like we don't have any spirituality until that comes in, and we are spirit. So the terminology here, and when you read the literature, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, because this is very difficult to explain with words. But it is the gateway through which the spiritual and physical vitality is enhanced through the body. So in martial arts, it's a key to rootedness and effortless strength, very important. In Qigong, it anchors the practitioner's energy and connects them with the living earth. So by nurturing this root chakra through meditation, through movement, conscious living, then one awakens and becomes more aware of their stability, their fearlessness, the unshakable strength that comes from that root chakra. Now, what I also wanted to do was kind of compare a little bit of the two. So when you're looking at, root chakra and a modern psychological modalities. So, when we're looking at the psychological end and looking at modalities and how do we evolve and grow and deal with our minds, a lot of that tries to be very empirical and evidence-based. It's mind secular, which is important that it is. Whereas the root chakra is more spiritual, it's more energetic, it's body-centered, it is often metaphysical, whereas often, the psychology tries to be much more secular. As far as core models of human being, modern psychological processes kind of look at biopsychosocial systems, their thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and how they all interact, especially with the environment. An energetic system, the chakras, meridians, and life force, prana or chi, all interact with body and spirit. So they seem to be holistic, but initially more contained within the individual being. Now, eventually it will grow out, because we begin to look outside ourselves as well. The focus when looking at psychological modalities, say cognitive behavior therapies, things like that, is the cognitive restructuring, emotional regulation, behavioral change. Whereas in things like with the root chakra, with Qigong, then we're looking at grounding, stability, we're looking at survival energy, balance between body and earth, in this case with the root chakra. So the underlying aim with psychology is to, reduce psychological distress and improve functioning. The underlying aim with more energetic practices is alignment with natural energy flow, security, and inner vitality. With Qigong and on the chakras, there's a emphasis more on the inner vitality, inner strength. And you're looking at, if you were in harmony with the Tao, if you're in harmony with nature, in harmony with God, then life is easier and less stress, as opposed to striving against it. So both systems aim for wholeness. Excuse me. Psychology is through the integration of the psyche, and the chakra systems and energetic systems are through the harmonization of energy. excuse me, but they do conceptualize energy and mind differently. Excuse me. So, under psychology, psychological modalities, we'll look at, cognitive behavior therapy that targets negative thinking patterns. Sorry, I'm getting my throat dry. There's psychodynamic theories, employs unconscious motives, explores unconscious motives and subconscious motives. I had a teacher recently who kept bringing up distinctions where I had mentioned there was an unconscious and a subconscious, and there is. You have a conscious mind, you have a subconscious where we do put some of our repressed energies, but there also is an unconscious where where it's much more difficult to access, where trauma and deeply repressed and regressed memories are held and put. Freud brought this out. Freud started a very good thing and obviously got taken too far in a lot of cases, but I tend to gravitate towards more Jungian and Jungian philosophies with archetypes and collective unconscious. So I do use this word with intent. Some body trauma-informed therapies will emphasize body awareness and the psychological regulation of that to release trauma. We're looking at root chakra practices. We'll look at yoga. We'll look at breathing. We look at Qigong. We use mantras. We use visualization as well, and rooting. Excuse me. So you will find that often Western psychological modalities and the Eastern thought process will overlap. And my whole intent since I got started with all of this is to find ways in which they do overlap. And whereas I can get empirical evidence from a Western side, whereas opposed to far more subjective evidence on the Eastern side, let's put them together so we also understand the whys as well and the hows of how this is happening, not just that it is. So when you're looking at, say, the concepts of safety and grounding, in psychology, the grounding is to remain calm and connected to the present moment, especially under stress. Energetic connection to the earth in more energetic practices is anchoring life energy for stability and vitality. So a slightly different emphasis. The mechanism is nervous system regulation, mindfulness, breath work, sensory awareness. In more energetic systems, it is also by breath, posture, visualization, and integration of chi through the legs and spine. So the evidence for psychology is going to be backed by a lot of neurobiological research on the vagus nerve, vagus tone, polyvagal theory, somatic regulation. Traditionally in energetic sciences is validated through the practice and experimental verification, increasingly studied mind-body research. So there's a lot that's coming out about mind-body, but it is far more subjective. The outcomes on the Western psychological models are reduced anxiety. So with trauma recovery, improved self-regulation, enhanced vitality on the energetic side, inner strength and courage as well. So both see grounding, as the foundation for all higher development. And I think there's part of the overlap. The psychological resilience in therapy parallels the energetic rootedness in chakra and qigong systems. Now, within meaning and transformation, from the psychology side, you're going to have constructed through a narrative reauthoring, kind of renewing of the mind, insight, self-understanding. The chakras will, and the lower Dantian will emerges through embodiment, spiritual awareness, harmony, and earth energy. So all of that becomes very, very important. I want to take another quick look at the chakra system originated with the Indian philosophy, the tantric, the yogic. Chakra means wheel, vortex, and refers to different energy centers. We know the main 7. There's also other energy centers throughout the body as well. Whereas with the Dantians, we typically speak of the lower Dantian, the middle, and the upper Dantians as well. And you'll notice that they also will, in their functions, also seem to include all the chakras as well. There's just a difference in how they're viewed. And for me, that was like going back into quantum physics. Is it a wave? Is it a particle? And the answer is yes. And part of it depends on what do you expect to see. And so in this, what you've been taught to see is kind of how you're going to process that. If you're open to interpretation, if you're open to it, you may be able to see them as both. And that's how I do that. So the centers, like I said, the vortexes, the chakras, they're not physical organs, they're energetic junctions. They regulate the flow of chi, of life force energy through the body. And they correspond, according to yogic philosophy, with specific vibrational frequencies or states of consciousness in each of those levels. And the region of body also has a psychological function. And it also correlates to stages of human development, states that we may reach, and levels of awareness. So, in philosophy, this human journey is one of ascending through the chakras, evolving from instinctual survival through spiritual transcendence. That's the path that we're all on. That's where we want to. That's why we do everything that we do, is that we are always constantly evolving from this very basic sense of just survival through transcendence. Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. So, when we start looking at, as you mentioned for the root chakra, and we don't need to go into whatever deities and those philosophies are there. Those are more concepts that get attached to it. But in the tantric view, the root chakra houses the kundalini energy, the shakti. There's a latent spiritual energy that is often depicted as a coiled serpent. And that energy rests dormant. And when it releases up your spine, it is an amazing feeling that is just, it's incredibly energizing. And so there's times when we've kind of felt like this wind that just rolls around me. Other times it's feel like not so much lightning, but this huge energy is running up my spine, and into crown chakra. Just amazing. Now the psychology, as we talked about, we've kind of looked at that when we're looking at how we develop through the chakras, through our, and we're talking primarily root chakra here. The lower Dantian, to me, encompasses both the root and the sacral chakra. We'll discuss that a little bit later. But they both emphasize early experiences in safety, grounding, and they will shape how we experience the world for the rest of our lives, quite honestly. So, like I said, a healthy root chakra, a healthy, vibrant Dantian gives you a sense of safety, trust in people, confidence in the body. All right. If it's blocked, you have a lot of fear and insecurity. If you want to know, is your chakra imbalanced? Then if you're balanced, you're feeling grounded. You're feeling stable. You're feeling secure. You're trusting life. You're trusting in life's flow. When we want to harmonize with the Tao, and we go with that flow, and you can trust that, and you're okay with that. It doesn't create a lot of fear. There's healthy relationships with money and material needs. You see their value, you see their importance, but you're also not attached to them. They don't define you. There's calm and resilience under stress. If you're imbalanced or have a blocked root chakra, then you're going to feel anxiety and chronic fear. You're going to have the sense of hypervigilance. You're going to do what it takes to. You've got to get to that place of feeling safe because you're not now. It's very motivating, but it's an unhealthy motivation. You're feeling ungrounded. You're feeling disconnected from your body or from reality. You have financial instability and hoarding tendencies because you're in fear. Fatigue, lower back pain is often rooted to, is correlated with a lack of a root chakra balance. And also foot issues, and over-reliance on external validation or control. So, all that comes also from unresolved traumas or chronic stress as well. So all these are ways that which we can work with this and get us to a place of harmony. And so when we start doing our meditation or awareness on the chakras, focusing on lower Dantian, it's giving us that sense of grounding, that sense of centeredness as well, that sense of wholeness. And from there, we realize we are already whole. We came into this world whole. We just perceive ourselves to be separate and fragmented, but really we are whole. And once you fully understand that you are whole, it will change your perspective about life as well. So, some ideas to think about. I want to kind of wrap things up just a little bit here. I did want to talk, a little bit. The lower Dantian, and they're not interchangeable. They do reference different systems. However, those different systems also are meant to be, they do work together. So you can combine them and work together at the same time. So like I said, the Muladad is root support, Dantian is the elixir field, or sea of Qi is what, and that comes from more of a Taoist, a Qigong, Neidan, internal alchemy traditions. Location of the chakras at the very base of the spine, the perineum area. As we talked about when we first started talking, the lower Dantian is down in the middle, about 2 inches below the navel, more towards the center of the body. The chakra system describes vertical ascension of consciousness and pranic energy, awareness as we intern. The Dantian is more circular and is a condensation of vital essence as well. So with the earth, it's stability, grounding, and survival in the earth, and lower Dantian is more earth and water energy. So both represent functions, foundation of the human energetic system, but the emphasis differs. The root chakra is the root of ascent, is the beginning of spiritual awakening. The lower Dantian is the center of condensation of Qi. The crucible where raw energy is refined and stabilized. So the energetic functions is the root chakra is an anchor that connects the human being to the earth. Governs survival energy, vitality, instinctual strength. It channels energy, prana, life force upward through the spine when awakened, which is when you become more aware of it, and serves as the resting place for the Kundalini energy. The lower Dantian is a reservoir of life force. It's the body's energy bank, which is why we spend so much time building energy into that energy bank. It stores and refines Jing, which is our essence, from food, breath, and rest into Qi as well. It acts as the center of gravity and balance in both the martial as well as the meditative arts. And it's the foundation for circulating Qi through that microcosmic orbit. So as I mentioned, the core difference is chakras are considered gateways of vortexes, where Dantians are containers. Differences in orientation of flow, and this to me is more about your understanding. Are you looking at particle or wave? So I view more of lower Dantian as circular or spiral energy, whereas root chakra is more vertical ascending, but there's also a spiral. If you look at it, there's a wave that goes in with that, with the root chakra energy as well. So to me, they speak to the same things, they just come at it from a different perspective. With root chakra, it is about awakening, purifying, transcendence, because that's the goal. With lower Dantian, it's harmonization and embodiment. So just some ideas to think of. Like I said, I view the chakras as evolutionary, whereas Dantians are more cyclical. With lower Dantians, the psychological part is more calm, centeredness, balance, presence. With chakras, it's safety, belonging, survival, trust in life. Emotional state with chakras is grounded, secure, and fearless once again. Lower Dantian is serene, stable, collected. Root chakra's emotional state, if it's out of balance, anxiety and fear. Lower Dantian, out of balance, nervous, scattered, emotional volatility. So just some ideas. So for me, and if you follow what I do with teaching, we do pay attention to both. There's times when in our meditation and our practice, we're focusing on the Dantians. And then at the same time, I'll have you notice the energy coming from root sacral, solar plex, heart, maybe floating back down again, floating up, and you feel that connection between your hands, your arms, and those energetic areas of your body. So we work on both. So hopefully this helps. It kind of gives you just a little bit of an idea about kind of what I'm dealing with, what I'm talking about when we do this. And I thank you much, and we will talk to you another time.